Delay!
Delay. Well, hello there. My name is HW.
Hey, I'm the Sooze.
Sooze, today we're talking about my favorite delay. My favorite type of delay.
Okay.
My favorite setup of delay.
How you would make it all work
How you
together.
make it all work together.
Okay.
We're using two delays. They're in series to get this sort of galloping delay thing.
Yes.
So one delay goes into another delay. One delay hears the initial signal and then the other, the delayed signal.
Yeah.
And then it delays both.
Yeah, and your guitar.
And your guitar, right, right. Here's a dual delay. This is like parallel, right?
Okay. So both delays are happening, just not into.
So what we've got is an eighth and a dotted eighth. And we're going to try out some other stuff. But we've got an eighth and a dotted eighth. And these should be going independent of each other.
Gotcha.
And we're just in mono today.
Okay.
Very nice. Now let's hear both these delays together. One delay, so we've got the eighth going into the dotted eighth, and these are relatively close to each other in terms of modulation and stuff like that. You get more.
Yeah.
All right. For years, this was my setup. I would take my second delay, and I would make it. I would make the first delay a dotted eighth.
Okay.
Okay. So a dotted eighth. I would leave this with relatively no modulation. Okay.
Gotcha.
I would try to leave it pretty clean because I used to do this with a Boss DM2 into a deluxe Memory Man.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I would get it as close as possible, and then I couldn't tap anything in because they didn't have tabs. Right. You know what I'm saying? This was like before.
That was the
This
sound.
was the dark ages, in the early aughts.
So was it like loud enough to hear the repeats? Like if you weren't like, because with that kind of a delay sound, I usually play in the tempo.
Yeah. So
of the song.
I would bring the feedback. So okay, here's the dotted eighth. I'll set it up like this. So play the dotted eighth here. Here's the first delay. I would do something like this, and I might only have like 3 repeats.
Okay.
Okay. See how many repeats you got. Okay, close enough.
Yeah.
That's close enough. Yeah. So we're on feedback of like about 40.
Okay.
And the mix about 43. So my second delay, I would then set this one up to be like 1, maybe 2 repeats. And I would put more modulation on here because it's going to repeat all the stuff before it.
Yeah.
So I just want to create
delay.
like a little gallop effect. I want all of the stuff to repeat again in time,
and
right?
it's on a quarter note.
Yeah, it's on a quarter note. So this one's longer. So for my mix, I'll bring it up to like 50 and try that. This is the one right here I would sort of verb out a bit, or I would modulate out a bit.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I'm going to turn on the flutter. So try that with some mod on it. You can hear some of the modulation in the flutter.
Warble, a
yeah. And then that'll warble everything. So hopefully together it sounds good.
That's cool.
Congratulations, Sooze. You sound like HW.
Right.
Yeah. So for years, that was my setup, and that's how I thought about it.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was just because the Memory Man had chorus. The DM2 didn't.
Yeah, totally.
And those are the delays I was playing
And you got
because
used to it,
yeah, because the gear page told me those were the delays I needed. You know what I mean?
Buy these.
Those were the sought after analog only delays.
Right.
And then I would set them up that way because Nigel Hedroff at the time, a lot of his Hillsong stuff was set up that way.
Gotcha.
But he was tapping it in. He would do dotted eighth into a quarter.
Okay.
And so a lot of that stuff like Desert Song and some of those earlier Hillsong jams, I would sit down and watch what was very scarce, like how to get this sound videos. And he had a couple of videos describing how he was doing his delays. And this was one of the ways his delay was set up in a song. And I just sort of adopted that. And then the tempos would move around, and well, I couldn't do anything about that.
Yeah.
So I just had a shorter and a longer, right?
Right.
But then I read one time that Eddie, all these people would break down Eddie Van Halen's delay. How, what is it? It's this and this and that. And then one year, decades after Van Halen had broken up, and probably in 05, 04 or something, Van Halen gave an interview, and he just said, "Oh yeah, people talk about my delay all the time and what subdivision it's in." He's like, "But I just always set my DM2 up to the same settings, and however the tempo changes, it changes my delay." And so there's that Van Halen sound, part of it is like, there's like an eighth note, but it's not.
Okay.
It's like a little laggy of an eighth note.
Yeah.
And that's just because like tempos would move around live or
it might
whatever.
sync up, it may be close.
Dude, people didn't play to click tracks back in the late 80s.
And they weren't always changing settings.
Yeah. And so delay was just something you turned on, and if you're not the edge and it's not like a leading part of your sound, you can get away with it being out of time.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the edge because like that would be where I kind of first heard this was the Streets Have No Name. Like YouTube, I was like, what is this glorious sound? The galloping delay.
Yeah.
But I just saw that new Halo pedal that they came out with. Halo. That's set up the same way. It's the stock setting is what you're describing. It's that kind of a little shorter into a longer delay. And
slap the strings right there. It's a gallop. The longest pause you get is the first dotted eighth.
Yeah.
Because after that, you're multiplying. You're getting the dotted eighth. You'll go again. On the second dotted eighth, you're past a quarter note.
Yeah, you've already heard the quarter.
And now the quarter's already going, but we had the dotted eighth at like 3 repeats. So it's still going to give another repeat.
Yeah.
That's why you get that first little pause, and then it's just...
Yeah, and then you have to have a math degree to know
to know where it's going. Who knows what the division is after that, but, but do it a little bit again. Just hit like the strings. It's almost like you get a little pause, and then you get these accents. And the accent is the quarter note, because it's obviously the loudest part of your signal is your guitar. So that's what you're getting that, as like the accent on the whole thing.
Yeah, and it kind of nicely fades away with where the feedback's set.
Yeah, because it's analog, it brings down the high end, and you can kind of get away with all that stuff. Is it in time?
To this?
I mean, but probably after a couple of those things, it's like, I guess it's always in a time. Yeah. It's not like so it's hitting something, but,
Yeah, right now this would be whatever you tapped in, like an 80 BPM.
Yeah.
Dotted
just whatever. Yeah. And so when the tempos move around, they move around. Fun fact, the Edge used to, those Deluxe Memory Man delays, the chipset has to be calibrated. It's an analog chipset, right? So there's no 500 millisecond. There's
setting,
It's a knob. I mean, it's a little dial, right? And so there's nothing that you can't type in 500 millisecond or 550. So the pedals vary. So the reason he starts a lot of songs are because he would just have a Deluxe Memory Man that they would calibrate at the right tempo when it was on the max.
Okay.
So then he starts the song, and then the drummer comes in with him. Because if he's off, he can't do anything about it. Yeah. So it's like, it's just up to...
He's the click track.
This is the click track. I'm starting the song.
Yeah.
It
makes me think, was a whole song written around the max setting of a Deluxe Memory.
Yeah, because it's at 550, 500, and people say that his are at 520. Okay. Like all the time.
And then he just played to that setting.
And they would set them for 520, and there you go. And one would break, and they'd have backups, and they would all kind of be calibrated the same. Huh. And that's what you got to do.
Back in the day.
But now now you play on a click track, and everything's seamless and MIDI, and you can do whatever you want.
So question for you. Yeah. So we've got these two delays set up similar to that. Can you talk about why you would want a dual delay rather than 2 delays, or vice versa?
Yeah, well, so the dual delay is most likely in parallel. right? So there might be a setting on a dual delay on any unit that could maybe bring them into series, and that could work. But when they're usually a dual delay is going to be in parallel, so it's two delays that aren't interacting with each other.
Okay.
So
so you don't get as much of the like accumulation of
exactly. You're not the second delay, the longer delay isn't going to see or hear the first delay and repeat its repeats.
Gotcha. Okay.
So and I like it because too then I can put modulation on the second one,
just one, yeah.
and I know my modulation comes in like later. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's affecting both delays, but it's later. Yeah. And so you get, I mean, play that again. You can hear this level of modulation, and I'll even turn up the flutter intensity in the modulation. I can turn the grid up too, and you'll hear this is very memory man-ish.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's just like a subtle...
And I think that's another selling point, too, of the two separate ones, is you can set them up differently. Like, one could be bright, into a dark.
Yeah.
I remember doing that with, like, a DD7
sure.
and a DM2 or something at the end or something. Just so the last delay you heard was sort of warmer and less in your face. You know?
Definitely darker later on is a good thing. If it's not dark all the time, darker later on allows you to have more, and it doesn't...
Kind of just... like a warm pillow at the end, just grabbing it all.
And we've got a good amount of... Actually, there's not a lot of high cut in this delay. I could bring it down. Here, try this. We'll really cut. And we'll cut down to like 3,000. Let's try that.
Yeah, you can hear
darker
guitar,
immediately.
Bright, and then dark.
Yeah. Play a little.
It's like, oh, it's even more of a different sound than each other. That's nice.
Really a different sound. And you can darken up the front one too, which would probably be appropriate. But, you know, you can, it's a Kemper. You could do like whatever you want. What are some, how else would we set this up?
Well, another thing I was trying out was putting the longer delay in front.
Yeah.
You know, so the quarter note gets first in your signal, and then it hits like a dotted eighth after.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
Let's try it. So quarter first. We're just going to reverse what we're using here, right? And then a dotted eighth after. So conceptually, we're going to get now, I'm going the wrong way. We're going to get a longer delay. The second delay is going to hear our initial guitar signal first. Right. Then it's going to get a repeat, and it's going to try to repeat the repeat after.
Yeah, and then we'll hear the first delay directly after that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right, here's how that sounds.
Totally different from the other one.
It's not, because it still like becomes a gallop.
Yeah,
you know,
eventually,
and a lot of the same like divisions are hitting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I have played around like on the performances and stuff, like putting that up front just so it hits the amp.
So like a quarter, the quarter note up front.
Like before the amp.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a way of getting a sound that hits the amp, and then one after the amp that's different. So like,
so I'm going to copy this. I'm going to hold that down. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hold this down.
Technology.
And wait, how do you do it? You hold it down. There we go. Yeah. Paste stomp effect, And I've literally made videos on how to copy and paste on Kemper. I could remember.
Just did it again.
Now we've got that same delay. So all I did was move the quarter note to the front of the amp section. And let's try that. Yeah, man.
Yeah, to me that brings out the quarter note, because it's hitting that amp, compressing it, I guess, or whatever.
A lot more, yeah. Yeah, it puts in the front of the amp. Then the amp's gonna, okay, we got to try something really crazy. We've got to, I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna put both of the delays up front.
Okay.
You know what I'm
saying? So this was the dotted eighth as well now?
This is the, the quarter, and let me put the dotted eighth in here. So it's the division, it's the arrangement you suggested, quarter into dotted eighth.
Okay, before the amp. Okay.
Paste. Now let me turn that off. And now we're in front of the amp. So we've got our quarter going into our dotted eighth in front of the amp now. And it gives it that more lively thing, right?
Yeah.
It feels a little more like attack alive. Like you and me earlier today, which is not in this video, you and me earlier today were playing plexis turned up loud, and we were putting delay and verb in front. And the more gain you get on the amp, you have to go so low with the verb and delay because it's getting that signal and amplifying it rather than having the amplified sound go into a delay unit that then just has to decide how much volume compared to the initial signal there is.
Right, I gotcha.
So like magnifies the effect.
So this should be like more pronounced basically in front.
Yeah. I mean, that's instant like YouTube cover band. Like it changes.
It's a prominent delay sound.
Yeah.
That would be harder to tuck in a different tempo, like we were talking about earlier. But
yeah, you couldn't get away with a ton there. Here's a little dirt. What's that sound like? Sooze, it's a Friday, not a Sunday. That's not the right guitar sound for this day.
It could be a Sunday when they're watching.
It could be a Sunday. You might be watching on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So, what do you go for? Are you usually quarter note into dotted eighth?
I think I'm at my template like performance I normally use, and I think it's eighth and dotted eighth. But the ratio is still kind of whatever. Like, and I'm tapping to get it to sound right.
Yeah.
Whatever tempo I'm using. But yeah, I've been really trying to experiment more with using whatever's not here. Like if this is dotted eighth and eighth, using like a 16th or a quarter.
Sure.
Just so I'm not doubling up something later. Because it doesn't. If I've got an eighth note here and a quarter and an eighth note there, both of the eighth notes are playing at the same time.
Yeah. So it's why an eighth and a quarter is what's going to happen. I mean, you're not
hearing
really
them at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, unless you're doing the stereo thing or ping pong or whatever. But yeah, it's just been kind of fun to try, and I've been trying longer, like half note repeats at a really quiet volume.
Yeah.
And that basically just gives longer length, so like it's hearing everything that's happening, and then a half note at the end catches it and does it again.
And of course, we're talking about subdivisions, but we could also just take off the tempo setting, the subdivision setting, and just use, something like, here's a Boss DM2 would have about 300 milliseconds of delay.
Oh, gotcha.
And then if I turn off tempo, a DMM would have about 525. They say 550, but sometimes they're as short as 480. And they're all in that range. So you might just have delays that are just not even really in time with each other.
Right.
What would that sound like? I'll turn off the dirt for you.
So again, this was 300.
300 and 520.
And 520. Yeah, sort of funny. That to me maybe less puts you in a tempo and more just gives you a sound.
Totally. If you're doing the super syncopated like edge thing, not what you want. If you're actually just gonna sort of ignore the tempos of those and just let them be part of the sound of the guitar, it actually makes it to me sound bigger and more, almost more ambient because it just sounded like now a bigger recorded guitar. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So maybe drop the mixes on those because they were both pretty like
loud.
So
the trick will always be drop the mixes, darken stuff up, and you'll be way more forgiving with the tempo. So I'm going to drop this second one down. It's going to cut most things above 3,000.
Okay.
And then this one was still very bright, so we're going to drop this down to 2,500. Now you've got two pretty dark sounding delays. Okay. I'll even add some more mod here. You know what? Let's be crazy. A little reverse mix.
Really treating ourselves.
Why not? Why not? You know? Little mod, the
reverse mix is a nice trick, just to kind of smear it out a little bit. And
it is. Not everything has it. That's a really cool, reverse mix. Try that. It's interesting. Nothing about that jumps out at me as out of time.
Yeah, you just kind of play along, but if you turn them off.
Now try to play Streets Have No Name. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there's no you can't do something that really needs it, right? You can't like really rely on a dotted eighth to be there. It's not going to be there.
Yeah.
But you can.
This is kind of the old like guitar solo trick, you know, just putting a little space back there, throwing out your notes a little further away. Just playing.
Just playing.
No matter what the tempo.
And the lower the mix, the more you can get away with it, really. You know, it just becomes part of the sound of the guitar, especially if you're not doing like any staccato or like really syncopated type things. You're not gonna, if there's no space for just the delay to jump out, you're not gonna hear it if you're just playing.
It can't compete with the actual volume of the guitar itself.
For sure. Well, that was fun, Sooze. What did we learn today?
Delays are awesome. Math is hard.
Math is hard. Delays are awesome, and they're awesome at almost any setting.
Yeah.
It just depends what like kind of awesome you want. Galloping delays are my favorite.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all I play. I mean, it's what I play on Sundays. I always use a dual delay because I always like two sounds of delays, even if it's not like running away galloping.
Are you in the habit of tapping every song? Or
I tap every song.
Okay.
I tap every song, and I occasionally tap out of time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just to not be super locked, and have it play around a little bit.
Yeah. So especially like if there's a lead part that starts a song, which is sort of a thing, right? So you might have a lead line that starts a song on an intro. I a lot of times, if I'm in practice, won't give it any thought, and if the previous tempo just works fine, it's fine. If it's too slow though, I'll just tap randomly. Okay. I'll just give it 2 taps randomly because I know that I just want like a shorter-ish thing.
I see.
And again, because I have darker delays. Now, if I have my default setting doesn't work if I need like a really prominent dotted eighth. I have to turn that on.
Okay, gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or pre-program that tempo or something. Yeah.
And then sometimes, if I want to do swells or a part of the song that I feel like I need to be bigger, but I don't necessarily want to go to like a super verbed out setting, or I'm already using verb, but I maybe don't want to go to my big pad setting, I'll half tap.
Oh, okay.
And then I know that my feedbacks are now double. So I can swell with ease, knowing that all my notes sort of ring out twice as long.
Right.
Or you can use that trick if you're just hitting a 1. and you're holding it. Because again, if you're holding a one, like if you hit the one on a chord, let's say you're gonna it's a quarter, and you're gonna, or it's a full measure. Let's say you're just gonna hold it. You can't hear that my dotted eighth is now. You know what I mean? My quarter is
changed.
It's like longer. There's no need for it. So I don't know. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sometimes I double tap to make the delay disappear a little bit too.
Oh,
like I don't want less delay. I just don't. I don't want to be as prominent. And a lot of lead sounds are just an eighth behind a lead guitar.
Yeah,
like this little trick. What about you?
You know, I'm kind of more in the camp of set a good tempo, or sort of like you did with your analog pedals.
Yeah.
Set a good tempo, and I only tap really like when I'm playing for church if it bothers me in my ears.
Sure.
If I can notice it, I'll tap, and so that might be like 1 or 2 songs a set or something. But for the most part, it's just is what it is. You know. But like you're saying, if there's like a Raise a Hallelujah or something,
I was just thinking that you have to tap it in.
I can't. Yeah, it doesn't work to just play with however it was set up. You know.
Yeah.
So
because it's very like bum bum.
Yeah, I gotta have that dial.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Well,
try it out. Let us know what you think too.
Yeah, try it out. Tell us in the comments what's your favorite. Like eighth, quarter, dotted eighth. After the first little bit, it all just gallops away anyway. It all just becomes spacey. You know.
And I'd be interested to know some people like eighth note and quarter because they don't want the gallop and how they use that and all that. So
totally.
Anyway, let us know.
These two are still in time, Sooze, so I'll let you play us out here. And we've been playing the Rose Morris V15-1, and it's great sound.
Clean Vox.
Clean Vox.
Strat.
Goldie's a real part of it.
So good.
All right, I almost said I've been Sooze.
I've been HW.
Sounds good. Wait, Sooze, we didn't turn them all on at once.
How did we miss this?
How did we miss this?
So now all 4 are on at the same time.
Oh wait, there's a 5th. There's a dual.
We didn't even test that one.
We didn't even... Here, put the dirt on too. We'll leave the dirt off.
Humongous.
That's pretty cool, man. I mean, it's like play something not like just play some chords.
Yeah.
Does it work?
I want to hear just these. There was something that happened before where it like kind of went at the end.
Oh wow.
Hear that?
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Kind of cool.
That's really cool.
Always turn everything on.
Always turn everything on.
Wow. I've been Sooze again.
It's political.
Good times.
Really good times.
Man, cranked amps and cranked delays today.
Just cranking everything.
Just, why not? Life's too short to barely use things.
Life's too short to not crank things.
I've got my effects set up so you can barely hear them.